Hello. I have absolutely no idea or where this project will go. I've just decided to do it to communicate in this way. Um, as an attempt to stop myself from going crazy, basically. Um, Life has become insane for me, and I'm trying to find a way forward. So this is a method that I'm doing to see how it goes. So, as I say, I'm not sure what I'm trying to achieve with this in terms of how I'm going to actually do it, but I'll see how it goes. So, my name is Ro, and I've suffered a brain injury, and I don't know if you can see the scarring on top of my skull. So, it's quite a severe fall that I had that led to the brain injury. Um, I don't know how the fall happened, but I'm forced to accept because I don't know anything. I just woke up and I was in this condition. I'm forced to accept that it may have been a suicide attempt. Now that seems insane to me. Absolutely crazy, and I don't want to accept it. But I'm forced to accept it as a possibility because I'm in this situation. So maybe it was, and so here I am. Or maybe it was an accident. And I suppose that it doesn't really matter how I got here. I'm here in this position, and I have to deal with it somehow. So I'm looking for ways to try and deal with it, and one of the ways is to do this project. As I say, I have no idea if it will work, and if it will be of interest to anyone. But I'm not doing it for other people, frankly. I'm doing it for me, but I do want to have contact with people and possibly help people, maybe, by sharing my experience. Um, I don't know if it'll work, but we'll have to see. So, my knowledge of things is simply that I woke up and I found myself in this situation. And the situation is very difficult. One side of my body is is really quite badly affected, or quite badly disabled. I can still walk with a stick. Um, I mainly use a stick, but I'm starting to walk without the stick now. But it's very slow, awkward walking, and it's very early days without the stick. So you should appreciate the fact that you walk if you can walk, because although it seems simple and ordinary and doesn't amount to much, it's just something that you do without thinking about it. The reality is that walking is rather complicated, and when you have an injury like mine, or I suppose if you're drunk or whatever, you realize how much goes on to be able to walk properly. Um, I'm just aware of other people in the building. I'm in supported living for now at the moment, which means my food is cooked for me and organized for me. Um, and people are there to observe me and make sure that I'm safe. I wash myself at the moment. Um, and I do some exercises every day with staff. which involves walking, the stuff in my room to work on balance and things and stretching. And I do some short walks in the community as well. And it is very tricky, as I say, to walk, but I'm glad that I'm doing something. So I suppose initially what I'm trying to do here is communicate that you should appreciate the things you have in life that maybe you don't think about very much. Your ability to walk and talk, and dress yourself and wash yourself and go to the toilet by yourself. All of these things are actually remarkably complicated, but obviously you've learned how to do them over time, and you don't think about it anymore. But you really should understand how much is going on when you do these things, so you're far more capable than you realize. And the only time you realize that the complexity of the things that you do naturally, the only time you realize that is when you're drunk or when you're injured. And then you realize, oh my goodness, there's a lot of things that I have to do to be able to walk normally and stand up without falling over. So I do need to be careful in the things that I do to try and keep myself safe, because there's lots of ways that I can get injured if I'm not careful. So life is very strange at the moment. I wake up basically and I do some exercises with staff as a wake up type thing. Then I have breakfast, which I prepare myself to some extent, but staff are there to make sure that I'm safe. My sense of taste is not there most of the time, so it's very frustrating. And it goes back to what I said about appreciating some of the things that you do and have that you may not think about. Your sense of taste is actually something that can disappear, that can be taken away. And then, of course, you realize how important it is. But I am hopeful with my sense of taste, because it does come back sometimes. So it's mostly gone, but sometimes there. So I'm very glad about that. I forgot where I was. So yeah, the consequences of the incident or suicide attempt, I just don't know. The consequences have been physical and mental. The physical difficulties are that one side of my body is more damaged than the other side of my body. So it's very awkward. One leg is very stiff, for example, when I'm walking, and one hand is not so functional as the other hand. So it is awkward to move around, and just even moving around in bed is quite awkward. But at least I can do it. And one of the things I've realized is that there are so many things that can go wrong with you. I never thought about these things before in life, but there's a tremendous amount that can go wrong with you. And I'm actually, for all the problems I have, I'm actually very lucky compared with how it could be. The fact that I can speak now and use my phone and watch television a little bit, listen to music, and walk around, well, I call it stumbling, but at least I can do it. But I could have lost an arm or a leg. I could have been completely disabled. And there are so many people dealing with this thing, and it just didn't occur to me before to really think about what it's like for these people So I'm definitely realizing it now, which is why I'm so grateful for having the functionality that I do have compared to how it could have been. So I'm intact bodily. I do stumble around and walking is difficult, moving is difficult, and there is some pain and awkwardness. But at least I'm mostly functional, so that's something. One of the main things that's a problem for me is my memory. My memory is basically gone to a very large extent. I can't retain much information. So if people say something to me, I will generally forget it quite quickly. So I have to make notes. I haven't got used to that yet properly, but I have to start making notes of everything that happens to keep track of how my day's progressing. So I am starting to do that, and I might do audio notes and whatever to try and get a rhythm for it. And my main hope is that my memory will improve over time, but I just don't know, and no one can tell me either. So I just have to see basically how that goes. So memory is the main thing. My physical problems are there as well, but for me the biggest problem is the memory side of it. But I have to find a way to deal with it because I don't have much choice. Well, I don't have any choice. So as to say, this video presentation, to be fanciful about it, will be disjointed and there'll be some cutting and pasting. I'll get my act together and do some editing in time. So be prepared for things to stop and start up again, because it's very early days and it's just a very recent decision to do this. So life now is extraordinarily strange, and it's mostly unknown in a way. So basically, all that's happened is I woke up and found I was in this situation. I have no memory of how I got into this situation. I'm just here. So I woke up, I'm in this room, and I've got these physical problems where I can't walk very well, I can't move very well. The pain is definitely receding, so I'm not in too much pain normally.